Energy is a fundamental human right because all that we do in society is focused on energy. And in Nigeria, we have over 120 million people without access to energy to run their homes and their businesses. And this leads to a lot of socio-economic effects on the economy that weighs down, quality of human life.
Meeting Nigeria's electricity need is not one that has really been done through grid supply because as it stands now, it's very epileptic.
Nigeria, endowed with natural resources, ranks as one of the world's largest producers of crude oil. But access to renewable energy is an enormous challenge facing the African continent.
In 2014, we had a new CEO who was just thinking about what more can we do to support the development of Nigeria.
We're approaching at that time 60th anniversary as Shell in Nigeria. Also going through a period of a rapidly changing footprint for our business in Nigeria. We started to think of what else we should be doing for the people of Nigeria beyond what we contribute in terms of economics, beyond what we do in terms of social investment, massive investments in education, in health services and all. So what else can we do?
How can we put a model together that will address energy needs of households who are off-grid and in rural areas?
And the experiment was to give Nigeria $200 million US. And with this $200 million to start an impact investing company. And this company was set up to do only one thing, to accelerate the closing of the access to energy gap in Nigeria.
Allon is actually a subsidiary of Shell, so to speak. It was initially incubated in Shell, and they went through a whole process and decided to provide $200 million towards this particular cause, which was energy access in Nigeria. It was very deliberate project of Shell that is now blossomed into this impact investing company.
Allon's role basically has been one of a facilitator, facilitating whatever needs to be done within that space in Nigeria. So the bulk of what we do is basically investment. So in terms of budget, 85-90% of our budget goes into investing in companies and giving them the finance which they need. In terms of investments, we basically oversee a portfolio of well over 45 companies in this space. We expect that to get to at least about 55 by the end of this year, 10 more companies by the end of this year. And this cuts across from angel investments, small investments, $50,000, $100,000, to larger scale investments of anything up to $5 million in companies which are creating the solutions to solve the energy access challenges which we have in this country.
For Shell, giving back to the region where it had greatly benefited was important. Therefore, when thinking about the beneficiaries of the All-On initiative, the Niger Delta region was it.
This is where we started our operations in 1937. This is where we still have our biggest footprint as at today. So in that sense, much of our relationships have been with the people of the Niger Delta. So as our footprint starts to change, we thought it was important that this remains our central focus, even as we change our footprint in Nigeria and move to other sectors.
By virtue of the fact that Allon made an investment in Ulu, it has allowed us to be able to sell more within those communities. I know that Allon is their business operations is largely in the Niger Delta area. We cover all of the Niger Delta areas, and that has allowed us push. So we at least a good 30 or 40% of all our revenue comes from the Niger Delta area. So they are impacting people within the communities that they're interested in.
Before making an investment, Allon conducts due diligence on all companies, projects, and founders. Tough questions are asked, and skills and technical know-how are questioned, all in a bid to get to know the business and the people behind it.
The relationship with Allon, has been a very interesting one, because from the 2018, after the SDF challenge with Olon. The relationship continued. So in 2020, there was need for us to scale to build a new factory, because our present facility was just 10 megawatts. So we're planning to build a 100 megawatt installed capacity. So we, met Olon, explained the plans to them, and Olon, made a further investment of $1.5 million, which was a combination of equity and debt into our company.
As an impact investment company, All-On wanted to build an ecosystem. Therefore, All-On is always on the lookout for companies that have the necessary requirements with solid propositions, plans, and direction to propel them forward.
Renewvia is an All-On investee. They found out that we had a lot of communities that we wanted to deploy power to in the Niger Delta, being that it was a vastly neglected fact that everybody thought power was constant. So we made All-On understand that these are the services we provide and we can deploy it to the Niger Delta. That's how All-On became interested in us and we became an All-On investee.
Sometimes in many of the investment rounds we do, we also find out that we are often the only company that has that chest, in quote, as a Nigerian entity to invest in this company because many other people are afraid. We are strong enough, we are committed enough, we are passionate enough about this country to actually put our money where our mouth is, of course, with the support of our funders, primarily Shell, and of course, the Rockefeller Foundation.
So when I started in 2017, it just so happened that the new president of the US ADF was my former colleague in the Rockefeller Foundation. So his name was CD Glynn. CD and I started chatting, we sat down, we said, what are we gonna do for Nigeria? And he said, look, we've been doing this program with GE across Africa. And why don't we find a way to do this together in Nigeria? So what we came up with was a unique approach to using blended capital. So US ADF would provide $50,000 of grant funding and All-On would provide $50,000 of convertible debt. And so this $100,000 was now available to the winners of the challenge.
The ecosystem is made up of talented and passionate individuals who have great ideas to bring to the sector when it comes to innovative solutions in the clean energy access sector. But they need a lot of support with regard to developing prototypes and developing their business ideas. All-On also has a hub where entrepreneurs across the space can get support, network, get advice, and build relationships.
The All-On Hub is the arm of All-On that provides non-financial assistance to our ecosystem of businesses that we invest in and a much wider pool at large. We provide support that comprises strategic development, operational optimization, and investment readiness, helping businesses understand their business through the lens of a financial model.
The hub is one pillar, one additional pillar that has come in over the last few years, which is basically acting as a center or a hub for the industry where we sort of provide non-technical support and fill or increase the pipeline for different stage business, whether it's ideation stage, angel stage, growth stage, or market entry businesses.
Within the NCIC, we have worked with All-On to shaping our embryo incubation program to become a world-class program. And by this means, I mean that, so All-On supports us to drive a 16 to 20 weeks program. And at the same time, within those 16 to 20 weeks program, we usually select between 15 to 20 ventures where we take through about 16 weeks. And at the end of that, we give about 8 of them $10,000 each as a seed grant to kick off that business. And this is done also in partnership with the Rockefeller Foundation. And what All-On has done for us from that inception is what has kept the NCIC running for the last 3 to 4 years.
The type of grants that we give at these incubators are grants that are so necessary to even help those businesses get to the very basic levels of sophistication required for now large-scale sustainable investments.
For us as RIAN, our members have benefited from this hub. It's a hub that just helps ideas that are bettered to grow into businesses, and then policy guidance, from RIAN and just from All-On as a whole.
All-On's hub, which provides market entry support, is something that we signed up with in 2021. And they were able to show us the entire ecosystem. So here are the energy developers and here are introductions. Let's see if they will be benefiting from your technology. And now a number of those developers are actually our customers and our partners.
One of the most important things it does is, first of all, they analyze all the operational process of your business. They can now tell you what is wrong with your business as at the stage it is now. What are you not doing properly? Are your accounts managed properly? Are your operational processes going on well? So after that, and it's usually a very rigorous process, a very tedious back and forth process, but it's actually very good for the company because after then you know what is good and what is bad, what you need to work on.
The renewable energy sector certainly is very capital intensive and requires substantial funding. This is even more so challenging for players in the sector in Nigeria, who depend largely on foreign supply chains to carry out their projects. Unfortunately, they lack the quantum of financing to place large orders of supply from manufacturers abroad. To solve this problem, All On in 2021 instituted the Demand Aggregation for Renewable Technology, DART. DART is a $10 million facility with $5 million from All On and the same amount from Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. DART utilizes a combination of demand pooling, aggregated procurement, and equipment financing to enable developers to scale and further their ventures.
This is, obviously very clearly something that is very important to the developers based on the interest that we have seen over the last few months. We are already in conversations in terms of expanding the scope and expanding the facility size, but I think that this is something that will be a game changer for the industry.
Prior to now, there was a gap as regards construction financing, but with the DART program coming in, that sort of bridged that gap to provide access to construction financing, which developers then need to continuously build out new systems and deploy their services at scale.
For every sector to achieve the desired impact, the right policies and procedures must be seen to be in place for implementation by both operators and players. Understanding the policies before important decisions are made could be difficult sometimes. To this end, All On's relationship with Clean Technology Hub has been very beneficial for new entrants into the renewable energy sector. Complex documents relating to the renewable energy sector have been simplified in easier ways to understand and assimilate before vital decisions are made.
What Alon actually does is it works with organizations like Clean Technology Hub to look at the existing policy landscape and create a compendium of documents, summarized documents that can help investors make reasonable decisions about whether they want to invest in the Nigerian renewable energy sector. So for instance, Alon asked us, Clean Tech Hub, contracted us to look at all of the policies, regulations, and laws that exist for the renewable energy sector in Nigeria. This was almost 3,000 pages of documents, policies, and laws, and we were able to summarize them into 120 pages of digestible information so that when a busy investor is looking to understand the landscape of what Nigeria has to offer, they can pick up those documents and look at the mini-grid regulation, for instance, which has been summarized to now 10 pages, and make the decision about whether they want to invest in the mini-grid sector.
When you're doing market entry into a new country, especially one like Nigeria, there are a lot of players in the space. And there are a lot of factors that need to be considered in order to run a successful business operation. All On's Hub is able to help us with the regulators. Here are the regulators, and you need to ensure that your technology adheres to the standards in order to deploy in Nigeria.
Through All On, many stories change. Sandra Chukwudozie is the Chief Executive Officer of Salfa Energy. Sandra has nurtured Salfa Energy to enviable heights following investments made by All On in her company.
All On came in firstly through the USADF All On Challenge, the 100 key, and then The $1 million was, us showing that we actually had a viable product, successful business model, and that we could scale up.
If you think about Sandra Chukwudozi's story, a 26-year-old female in Nigeria starting a business in a sector that's sort of growing, there is no bank or financial institution that would have given her $1 million. Olon did, because she won the challenge, she proved herself, she started to grow a business in a way that looked like she was onto something, and we upped the game.
Similar successes are also shared by several enterprises across the region.
It was really mind-blowing, the fastest discussion we've ever had, because they've seen our products work before, so we didn't have to spend much time trying to convince them. And one talk led to another, and after all the necessary processes, they agreed to invest $500,000 in the company. And this, already as I'm speaking to you, the construction of the factory has started, and we're hoping that within the next 4 or 5 months we'll be done with that. And that should be the only inverter and charge controller manufacturing plant in West Africa, if by the time we are done.
We are having this solar mini grid installation as a result of a $50,000 convertible debt, which we got from Olon, and a $50,000 grant, which we got from USADF. And this system was initially installed at a capacity of 26.6 kilowatt peak, but right now we are having a system of 31.1 kilowatt peak, which is serving a total number of 200 homes and over 50 businesses.
In the year 2019, Ecobla 18 was one of the companies who benefited from the US ADF Olon challenge. We got a grant financing of about $50,000 USD and a convertible debt financing from Olon of $50,000 USD. And this has actually helped us in the deployment of the 40 kilowatt solar hybrid mini grid on Obadore community. That's provided access to energy to about 340 connections so far.
All On has a weekly radio show on Nigeria Info every Monday for 30 minutes in English and other 30-minute sessions on Wazobia.
It's impossible that you're in this sector and you've not heard of Olon. We have now become like a thought leader in this sector, and which is good. And the kind of portfolio we have now, it is almost impossible to find that currently anywhere across Nigeria and even beyond Nigeria.
All On's works have impacted many businesses, but beyond that, All On has also impacted people across different walks of life.
We have a 60 kilowatts scalable mini grid system here in Alaile Fusion community of Indori local government area in Ondo State, where we supply the community of Alaile Fusion a stable solar power, and they can attest to the benefit that it has brought to their businesses.
Solar light has helped us so greatly. We are really very grateful with the people who brought this thing to us, because we've been staying in darkness for all these years. And we thank God, when they brought this thing, it was just like we are in heaven.
Before Kinto get a cool box solar freezer, normal freezer like Tamokula man low. And now the kini no always been. A man run no generator. Láti ìgbà tí mo ti get solar cool box freezer. Mi ò repo mọ́. Any ọjà tó bá ti rọ̀ láti ọjà mo máa gbé sínú cool box solar freezer. Ó máa jẹ́ kó block dáadáa, ó dẹ̀ máa look more fresher.
Since the solar came into my community, we have been using it for charging our phone, for using our radio to hear news. We use it for pumping our borehole. We have not been buying any fuel or kerosene to see lights in my community. The solar light brought us life and enjoyment and happiness since it came to our own town, Ebeke.
Solar helped me a lot in my business. Now I'm not using Lister again because of the cost of the diesel and all the rest, because the time we are doing serious work, there will be, the Lister will break down. But I thank God for everything. Now I'm not using the Lister again, as solar I'm using now. Until the solar is too good for me.
I was using a private gen
that I was buying fuel of 900 naira every night, 900 naira every night. But with the presence of this solar system, I am paying just about 300 naira per night. So me personally, I'm enjoying the solar, and that is why I never want the solar to go.
Light is really life, and this is life. One would, without light, sweat so much. Right now, there's a solar fan behind me. It's fanning the entire populace that is in the room.
We buy 2,000 naira for a daily here, but now we are buying it weekly now because we are not often on gen. We are using more of the yellow bus, and ever since then, we have been enjoying it.
And so, in just 5 years, All On is living up to the dream and vision for it by Shell, by empowering the various renewable energy enterprises in Nigeria to reach millions of underserved Nigerians with electricity. For sure, the renewable energy sector has come alive and has witnessed a massive boost through the investment and support from All On, a reality that perhaps may not have been possible, but for the dogged determination and brilliance of the promoters of the initiative itself, Shell. It is not a little wonder that All On was awarded the Impact Investment Company of the Year for 2021.
The impact within 5 years has been, I would say, tremendous, exceptional actually. From inception to the end of last year, we've had something like 45,000 solar connections. We have another 30,000 planned for this year. So this is really huge.
5 years on, and All On story has certainly been one of tremendous success. And many would ask, what would the story be like in the next 5 years?
The sky is the limit. We started modest because we wanted to put our toes in the water very carefully to see how we gradually launch this business, and given its success. And everyone is glad to do it just because of how All On has essentially delivered in its mandate.
In the next few years, 3, 4, 5 years, Nigeria would basically become have a lot more solar in our energy mix. So right now we're basically under 2%. So I expect to get to at least that 5-6% mark in the next 5 years.
What is next? Scale, scale, scale. All On has already done tremendous work in the sector, has already impacted hundreds of lives in Nigeria. The basis has really been put together for impact, because I see that there's a strong basis that can now help us get to the next step, which is scale. Scaling our vision, scaling our investments, and therefore scaling our impact and reach.